What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the Uncommon Mindset podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. Today, I'm joined by Lucy Bartholomew. I'll just give you a brief background on who Lucy is. Lucy burst onto the ultra running scene by running her first 100-kilometer race with her dad when she was just 15 years old. Since then, the Melbourne, Australian native has continued on her upward trajectory, tucking a number of accomplishments under her belt, including winning the Ultra Trail Cape Town and Ultra Trail Australia and coming third in her first ever Western State 100. This young, ambitious beast is definitely an uncommon individual, and what an honor it is to have you on the podcast today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate that introduction.
No worries, Lucy. So I like to always take it all the way back with my guests. So my first question for you is, what was your upbringing like, and when did you get into running?
Yeah, so I grew up, so I've got two older brothers. And so we were kind of always competitive kids. And me being the youngest and the only girl, it was kind of keeping up with my two brothers and trying to impress my dad and my mom. I played a lot of team sports. I did a lot of kind of netball and basketball and kind of played any sport that would get me out of school for the day. I joined any team that was needing someone, but for sure, I wasn't skilled enough. I would run around a lot to look busy and to not get the ball. But yeah, it was not until probably, when I was 14 and my dad signed up for his first 100-kilometer that I kind of saw that running was its own sport and not just a means of being fit for team sports.
Yeah, wow. Is that when you actually, got the passion for running then? Did you do anything? I'm guessing you obviously done races before the 100-kilometer race you did with your dad, right?
So I did at school the 3-kilometer cross country and track running. So I did that kind of stuff, but nothing much over that 5-kilometer type thing. Like I said, it was more about training, running to be fit for the team sports, but never as a solo sport on its own.
Wow, that's incredible. That's crazy. But yeah, what would you say has been your toughest race up to date?
Oh, I feel like every race has had so many tough moments. Probably one that springs to mind was Western States 2019. So returning the year after coming third, it was really challenging for me I think, comparison is the thief of all joy, and just kind of trying to live to my own expectations to all of a sudden having other people's expectations. And yeah, just kind of that race in 2018 took me onto a world circuit and world renowned. And I wasn't really ready for that. And it kind of all just imploded in that race.
Yeah, no, wow. Would you say that do you ever lose passion for running at all? Does it ever get overwhelming with all these races coming up? Do you ever feel like, you're putting yourself out there too much?
I think it's very challenging I think it's hard to hold a passion for anything when you do it day in and day out. I think that's human nature, is that it becomes, a bit mundane and a bit kind of repetitive, and running, can be that. It's a pretty simple act. And for me, I started running to share it with my dad and to be a part of the community and to see places in Australia and then the world. And then when that kind of switched to becoming my career and about, it was my way of making money and kind of, it was a job, then it very quickly, it wasn't as much like I was doing it because I wanted to, but more because I felt like I had to or I needed to. So I would say that I definitely have outrun the love of running before, but I've always kind of had the right people around me who've kind of ringed me back in and just made me have that perspective of, what if you didn't have running, and just enjoy every step, because you never know which will be your last.
Yeah, no, and I know you're still young, right? You're only 24 years old, and you've literally traveled all around the world doing what you love. What's one place would you say that has been your favorite place to go, or maybe to run at?
Oh, that's super challenging. I would say that I loved Norway. When I was there, it was the 24-hour sun.
Mm.
And I just remember flying in, and I don't even know what time it was, but it was definitely meant to be the night. And just dropping my bag and going for a 2-hour, 3-hour run and hike, and just coming back and being like, yeah, it's another day, but it feels like the same. And you could just play all day. And it was really, really cool.
Yeah. No, I've never been to Norway, but I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to go to Australia as well. It seems like an incredible place. I know it's summer there, right? And it's going into fall at the moment. Um, but yeah. My next question for you is, what are your goals now then, Lucy? Because I know you've got some races coming up, right? What are your goals for the next future now?
Yeah, it's super hard to do goals at the moment. For me, I usually spend most of the year traveling. So, like you say, we're in autumn in Australia,
Mm.
and usually before it hits winter, I've flown away to either America or Europe and done the summer season there. But with the current times, I haven't been traveling. So last year, I did a full year at home. And this year, I kind of envision the same thing. I don't think that I'll be internationally traveling, which means that the likes of Western States, Ultra Trail Mont Blanc, UTMB are probably not looking super likely. So I just got back from doing a big project in the middle of Australia, a 250-kilometer run, and I kind of see myself staying pretty local and enjoying Australia like you want to enjoy it.
Yeah, no, of course. What goes through your mind when you're like going for a long run? Do you ever feel like giving up? Do you ever feel like this is, too much for me? I don't want to do this anymore, like in the middle of the run? Or are you always just, focused and just dedicated to finish that race?
Oh, no, definitely. I ride a roller coaster of emotions on long runs. And whether that's, long runs or races, I feel like, when you're out there and you're trying to wrap your head around going out for 2 to 3 hours, or you're running 100 kilometers, the mind really struggles to put that in perspective. It really is just a dot in our day or a dot in our lives, but it feels so massive when you're standing at the start of it. And so for me, I always find that in the first hour or so, I'll be doubting whether, this is what I want to do. Oh, I don't feel great. Should I stop? Should I turn around? I'm not too far in to go back. But for me, it's just about kind of shifting that perspective and just looking around and being like, I'm just going to appreciate where I am. I'm going to do my best with how I feel, and just like, respect my body, respect nature. And so I definitely have those moments, and probably more often than not. But it's just kind of learning, having those tools in your toolbox to be able to, get through those moments. Because when you look back and go, man, at 10 kilometers into that 100K, I wanted to stop, and then I went 90Ks more, you kind of realize, your potential is far greater than you first thought.
Yeah, no, of course. I've spoken to Zach Bitter. He's an ultra runner as well, and he mentioned that whenever he goes for a run, he always breaks it down into little pieces. So if he's going for like 100-kilometer run or like a race, let's say, he always says, "Okay, let me just hit the 10K mark," and then he always says, "Let me just hit the 20K mark," and he just breaks it down, and that always works best for him. But he says as well, it's so tough, and like you feel like giving up a lot. It's like a roller coaster, like you said. Um, do you ever hallucinate when you run? I know this might sound like a silly question, but I was watching a video of Courtney Dowater, and she mentioned that when she was running, she saw like a leopard playing like a violin or something like that. Do you ever see anything like that?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because just on my most recent long run, the 250Ks took 50 hours. And so it was my first time kind of running through what was 2 nights. And that was kind of my first experience of hallucinations. And I was seeing, there was lots of like ant mounds, or like mounds of dirt on the side of the trail. And I thought they were all tents. And I walked past my crew, or I said to someone, I was like, man, this is a super busy trail. There's so many people camping. And he was like, no, like there's no one out there. And it was quite scary because, you know, I was like comforted by the fact that all these people were camping alongside the trail. And then suddenly it was like, no, all that time I was alone. And then I had, when I was like putting my feet on rocks as I was climbing up like a rocky staircase, I was seeing like writing on the rocks. And so that like, it was kind of, I was like looking at it and I'd see it and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's strange. And then I would see the same writing like a few hours later. And in my mind, I was like, did I just do a circle? Is this the same rock as before? And when you're out there navigating by yourself and all alone, I was just like, all right, stop, look at your maps. No, you're not in the same spot. And yeah, just kind of, it's crazy what your mind does and the tricks it plays on you.
No, yeah, that's so funny. But yeah, you know, your recent race as well. I know you put on social media about sleep. Do you want to just talk more about that? Like, what was sleep like for you during that race? Did you just sleep for like 2 minutes and then get up and go for a run again? Or did you actually get like a good rest? Do you ever just like, because I know some ultra runners as well, when they're running for a long time, they just set a timer for like a minute. They literally just sleep for a minute and then they get up and they go again. Is that what happened in your recent race?
Yeah, so the run I did just now was not a race. It was just kind of my own adventure.
Mm,
And so, you know, there wasn't kind of like the necessity to push for time or anything, but I was still kind of motivated to see how fast we could do it. And I was really curious to see what it felt like to run through sunset, sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset. So for me, for sleep, you know, I didn't train any sleep deprivation or anything like that. I just kind of went into it with an open mind and I was like, you know, I will listen to my body and I will respect it, and kind of just went until, yeah, I really couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. And then I happened to be with a guy, my crew, Josh, who was pacing me. And I just told him to set an alarm for 5 minutes. And, you know, I pulled 5 minutes out of thin air. I could have said 10, I could have said 2, but 5 minutes felt like more than a minute, more than 2, more than 3, and more than 4. And it wasn't going to make Josh sit there for too long looking at me trying to sleep. So it was kind of 5 minutes. And then on the second 5 minute nap, which was at about the 40-hour mark, 42-hour mark, I did say, can we just snooze that for like another minute? Just give me like 60 more seconds to compose myself before bringing it home.
mm, mm. Talk to me about your diet. I know you're plant-based, right? How did you become plant-based, and what does your diet look like, let's say before a race or even after a race?
Yeah, so I follow, yeah, plant-based, like you say. So I don't eat meat or dairy or animal products. I've been doing that now for, I think, about 5 years. And prior to that, I was vegetarian for 3 or 4 years. So it's been quite a while. And it's definitely been something that, you know, when you do it enough, your body gets used to it and it becomes routine. I know a lot of people that try and, you know, do little changes to their diet to eat that way, and they say they, you know, it's so much fiber and you have to eat so much, but you kind of get used to it. And it's, you know, it brings me a lot of joy. It's why I wrote a cookbook on it, just to kind of show people how easy and how delicious it can be.
Mm,
But for before races and after races, you know, it doesn't change a whole lot. I used to do, when I was really young, and, you know, back when I was 14, 15 and running with my dad, you know, we'd do the carb loading thing, and you know, that was super, super fun. But now I just kind of, you know, a plant-based diet is quite high in carbs regardless. And yeah, I don't really feel the need to increase anything. If anything, I just make sure to maybe not eat as much fiber and always just to drink enough water.
mm,
And then after a race, it's kind of, you know, just like honor your body and whatever it wants, and just kind of, yeah, relax any trying to eat super, super healthy and super, super well, and just kind of celebrate what your body achieved.
mm. Yeah, that's amazing. Um, do you, d What would you say has been your biggest accomplishment so far, Lucy? I know there's a lot, that you've done. Is there anything that stands out to you that you're just like, wow, this is incredible. Like this is one thing that would stand out to me.
I would say probably my most proud would be running that 100K when I was 15 with my dad. I think, there was a lot of reasons that could have not happened. If the race directors hadn't allowed me that opportunity, there was a lot of people that kind of said that it's not a good idea for a young girl to run that far, and all these future problems that I would run into. And I think, I just remember a lot of critics being out there, and it was kind of a moment where I had to choose how much running meant to me, and whether I was going to move forward confidently or just go back into the pack and do what I was told and what was considered normal. So that's probably my most proudest, because from there it's created my whole life.
Yeah, no, of course. And it's something you touched on there is kind of incredible, is that there's a lot of doubters, right? And especially when you're 15 years old, I bet a lot of people just said, you're not going to be able to do this. You've never run over, let's say, 20 kilometers, and you're trying to run a 100-kilometer, race, or anything like that. How do you deal with doubt now? Do you ever get doubt at all? Or are you just, the mindset that you have is just like, I'm going to do this, and you just go out and do it?
Yeah, I would say my mindset's very much, I'm a pretty stubborn person. I'm a Taurus, born in May, and I think, it's very much like, tell me I can't, and I'll show you I can. And so, I think, I remember standing at the start line of that first 100K, and my dad saying to me, there's a lot of people that want to pull out because they want to be right.
Mm.
But you need to smile your whole way through this 100Ks, and show people that you're doing it because you love it and that you love running. And it's just a middle finger to all those people to say, I told you I could do this.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. Do you do anything else apart from running, or is your soul? Obviously, I know your sole thing is running, but is there anything else you do? Any hobbies or anything like that you have?
I've got a few hobbies. I love to swim, and I am training towards doing an Ironman at the end of this year. So I do need to get onto the bike at some point and make that a hobby. But I wrote a cookbook last year, and so cooking and kind of sharing recipes is definitely one of my passions. And then, kind of just creating I love putting on these trail camps. Obviously, I haven't been able to do it previously because of gathering people with the pandemic, but definitely those camps, they culminate all the things that I love, plant-based eating, mindset, yoga, meditation, running, nature, and then just the connection of humans is kind of all the things I love in one space.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, and you're providing value for other people as well, so it's incredible. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. What does your recovery look like? Is there like a process you go through when you go through recovery? I know you mentioned obviously you do yoga, but is there anything in specific that you do?
I can't say I do anything too flashy for recovery. For me, it's like, do the basics well. And the basics are, sleep, eat, hydrate, move your body how it feels it wants to. Don't push anything. I see that there's all these guns and boots that blow up on your legs, and, creams, and that's great. And I think they're all like one percenters, but you've still got to do the basics really well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like, doing the best I can with what I have, but focusing mainly on sleep and nutrition, because that's kind of the foundations to getting stronger and to absorbing what you did and to growing into the future.
Yeah, no, of course. What's one thing you'd say to someone who wants to start running, who's maybe afraid, or who has friends who are doubting them or anything like that? Is there anything that you'd say to that person?
Yeah, I would say find some new friends that 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 support you and see your vision. The trail running and the running community is so open, and there's so many great groups online. And the cool thing with social media is that you can reach out to anyone, and even if it's me, I try and write back to everyone who writes to my inbox, because I think that you never know how you're going to change someone's life. And yeah, just be really curious, try new things, but don't put any expectations on yourself. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't try to impress someone else. Do it for you. And yeah, if you can share the journey, it makes it a lot more fun. Yeah, I can't thank my dad enough for being by my side for the first, 5-6 years of my journey, and giving me the confidence to now kind of move forward and travel alone.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. And like you said, you're such an amazing person as well. Like you said, like you get back to people, you're not like an arrogant person or anything like that. And I think that that says a lot about someone. I know that you're such a busy person as well, with traveling, with training, with running. So, I thank you so much for being on this podcast. Just one more question now before I let you go, Lucy. I asked this to all my guests. What would you tell your younger self? I know you're still young, I'm only 25, you're 24, but what would you tell your younger self if you could go back in time?
Oh man, what would I tell myself? I would say just back yourself. I think it's like such a thing that a lot of people need to be told, is like, you've got this. Just believe in yourself. And there's going to be other opinions. There's going to be people that don't like you. There's going to be people that don't like what you're doing. But if you do and you do you proudly, and you do what you love, and you chase what sets your heart on fire, then whether you win or whether you learn or whether it completely all crumbles around you, it doesn't matter, because you had an amazing experience, and maybe you shared that with someone and created some memories along the way. So yeah, I'm still telling myself that today, and I probably will until I'm 70, 80 years old. But yeah, just back yourself and have fun. And at the end of the day, who really cares? Like, just enjoy it.
No, 100%. Yeah. And, I read this thing, it said that no matter what you do in life, you're going to have people who like you, you're going to have people who don't like you. So just do what you like, just do what you're passionate about. Don't worry about what other people
Totally.
think. Yeah. But yeah, no, thank you so much, Lucy. I really appreciate your time. What I'll do, guys, I'll leave all of Lucy's social media down below. Make sure you go and check her out. Honestly, this girl is incredible, and she's still young as well. 24 years old. So it's just the start for you. I'm so excited to see, what the future holds for you.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate the chat.
Yeah, no worries, Lucy. Thank you again, and I'll let you go. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye.